Today, Joe Biden warns of a nuclear Armageddon. Kanye West joins Tucker Carlson, and an Arizona libertarian candidate wants to debate the age of consent. They said it would never go that far. And that slippery slope will get you every time. We've got all of that and more coming up, and it all starts right now. Welcome to the News and Why It Matters. I'm Sarah Gonzalez, and today's episode is brought to you by Healthy Cell. They've got a bunch of great supplements to help with literally everything: sleep, focus, general multivitamin. They taste great. My whole family loves them. We use them exclusively. You got to go to healthycell.com/news. Use code NEWS for 20% off of your first order. I'm joined today by the man, the myth, the legend. We've got Alex Stein, Primetime 99 Alex Stein, host of Conspiracy Castle, also BlazeTV contributor, and Taylor Hanson, investigative journalist Taylor Hanson.
It's the quietest I've ever seen Stein.
I know, I didn't even say anything.
It's just because I talk over.
Yeah, because we're kind of starting off slow, but I know this episode is going to be, as they say, wiki wild, as Will Smith said.
So, Taylor, I was trying to talk over the whole time, so he didn't do what he just did there. And you ruined it.
I know, because I always do mess up the intro whenever Sarah goes.
He was like, so let me tell you about this. Like,
yeah, I have a lot to say in a short amount of time. We need to make the show 2 hours.
Management, he does not mean that. We do not need to make the show 2 hours. I have things to do. All right, so let's get into all of these. I mean, nuclear war, World War III, Armageddon. These are all things that should cause some sort of alarm bells going off in your head. But it's just another day for Joe Biden. So while speaking at a Democrat fundraiser last night, Biden reportedly said Putin is, quote, not joking, end quote, about using nuclear weapons against Ukraine. He also said, we have not faced the prospect of Armageddon since Kennedy and the Cuban Missile Crisis, and we have a direct threat of the use of nuclear weapons if, in fact, things continue down the path they are going. Now, this comes after the United States federal government announced a $290 million purchase of a drug that is used to treat severe radiation sickness. Is that Nplate? Nplate? Could they just spell things appropriately so that I know how to pronounce them? That would be helpful. So the DHHS said of this purchase, this is part of our ongoing work for preparedness and radiological security. It has not been accelerated by the situation in Ukraine. There's nothing to see here. It's just a coincidence. It has not been accelerated by that. There's going to be a nuclear war and everyone's going to die. So congrats, guys. Just another day in Joe Biden's America.
I'm looking forward to WW3. I mean, I missed out on WW2, and, Afghanistan was kind of anticlimactic. So I'm ready to ride this wave. If you see me joining the Ukrainian Foreign Legion, I'm going straight to the front line. I think that's the next move in this, proxy war, just to put my life on the line.
The way that you said WW3, it was like WWE.
I know, that's the vibe that it has, because this is a proxy war. I mean, it's so obvious that America definitely wants to probably encourage Putin to drop a nuclear bomb. I mean, I know that sounds probably insane. I know I'm a conspiracy theorist, but they want to antagonize him as much as possible in order to cross the line so that it does become the West versus Putin, which it already is, but they just want it to be, ramp it up to 11, as they say.
The intelligence agencies are having an absolute blast right now.
I don't think that's true, Taylor.
Just a little bit of fun. I mean, they're upping contracts on anti-radiation medicine, but it has absolutely nothing to do with nuclear war. They just want to be prepared.
I remember the days when Donald Trump got in office and everyone told us that Donald Trump was going to start World War III. We were going to be in a war. Can you believe this guy has the nuclear codes? He's going to get us into World War III. How did that turn out?
Well, I mean, we're here. And I wouldn't be surprised if we, this is my tinfoil hat, but if you ever heard of the false flag attack, I just wouldn't be surprised if a nuclear bomb goes off, but we might not know who drops it. Wink, wink. Just like these Nord Stream pipelines, it just somehow,
Well, what is this is the conspiracy theorist, so what is your conspiracy theory?
If you do not think America was involved in the Nord Stream pipeline, you are insane.
Stein, I'm going to have to interrupt you, bro. No conspiracies here. This is BlazeTV.
Yeah,
okay,
it's not allowed.
it was clearly Russia that sabotaged their own pipeline, because that makes a lot of sense.
Well, climate change. They don't want to affect the climate.
Well, energy dominance, I mean, why would they want to be, dominant over all of Europe? We might as well just get rid of that now.
So yesterday, Zelensky, speaking of Russia and Ukraine, Zelensky called on NATO to launch preemptive strikes against Russia so that they know what will happen if they use a nuke. He said that it was the only way to exclude the possibility of nuclear weapons by Russia. Now his office has already tried to walk back these remarks. Well, at least Ukraine also knows what it feels like to have to constantly walk back your leader's remarks the next day. They're sitting in the control room going like, oh, crap, not again. But they said that Zelensky was referring to preventive sanctions ahead of Russia's planned full-scale invasion of Ukraine. So, preemptive strike on Russia. Zelensky's calling for NATO to do this. A little scary. I would like to believe that NATO is laughing it off, but I think this guy has a little bit too big of a head at this point. He's been getting all of this money from, America. He's been getting all of these foreign funds. We're all funneling money into him so that they can, I would say so that they can have all of this expensive military equipment, but I'm not sure that we've actually seen any of the receipts of where that money is actually going. He's on the cover of Vogue. He gets to call all these shots, and then he goes to NATO and tries to tell them to just, get themselves involved in a war.
Well, I mean, he's the puppet for the New World Order. I mean, that's what basically NATO is. And it's just Ukraine literally saying that them being in NATO is what basically started this whole entire fiasco. So if that was all they had to do is not be a part of NATO and that would stop World War III, I don't even think they would do it because they want World War III to happen. So that's how sick these people are.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems very intentional. I mean, we've given this guy billions and billions and billions of dollars. And so, so what if we launch a preemptive strike? We're just going to give them billions of dollars anyways. No, but this is clearly intentional. They want us to go into World War III because how I always say it is there is no more profitable time than wartime. That's when the most money in the world is ever made.
So I want to switch gears here and talk about Joe and Hunter Biden. Yesterday, the Washington Post, of course, reported that federal agents believe they do have enough evidence to charge Hunter Biden with tax crimes and making a false statement in connection with the purchase of a gun. By the way, this has been information that's been out for a very long time. We covered it on the show. These are documents that have been readily available. So it's nice for the FBI to finally catch up to the rest of us. And while discussing this particular report that had just come out, NBC host brought up the accusations against Hunter regarding Ukraine and Burisma. And they came to the conclusion that he did nothing illegal because there's no evidence he was inappropriately giving foreign countries information from his family. Watch.
There's a lot of people who evade taxes who are never prosecuted criminally. So that's going to be a big issue in this case. In terms of corruption, conflict of interest, we've never heard a hint that there were potential criminal charges there because Hunter Biden wasn't an office holder. It was perfectly legal for him to take money from foreign governments as long as he wasn't inappropriately giving them information from his family or something. There's no hint of that. As bad as it looks, we should all acknowledge it looked terrible. He did this while his father was vice president and in charge of Ukraine issues, and he was taking $50,000 a month from that energy company, but no hint that he was ever going to be charged on that count.
Listen, there's no evidence that he was using that relationship. There's no evidence that Joe Biden flew him on his jet when he was vice president to go to China and meet with these people. There's no evidence of Hunter's business partners being let in the White House, signing the White House visitor logs. There's no evidence, honestly, to anything if it is something that we don't want the narrative to be. We're just going to say that there's no evidence for any of it.
Yeah, I mean, MSNBC is smoking the strongest fentanyl-laced copium I've ever seen. I mean, just for them to look us straight into a camera and say, well, there's no hint that there is any sort of, illegal business dealing. It's obvious that there is, and that's what I'm worried about is that we don't focus on that, and then they just say, oh, well, he lied and said that he wasn't a drug addict on a form to get a gun, which is, even if that is a crime, it's not that big a deal. We don't care about this. This is like the crack pipe. Give us the illegal business dealings with China and the Ukraine and tell us, connect the dots to why we are now in World War III. And it all goes back to Hunter Biden and his thong and his crack pipe.
No, I'm glad you touched on it because my worry on this is, conservative media is going crazy because, MSNBC wants to talk about Hunter for the first time. We saw, last time they talked about Hunter, it didn't go anywhere. But if they actually do charge, if the corrupt DOJ, because that's what they are right now under this administration, is willing to charge Hunter Biden, it's going to be for the lesser crimes, for the gun charge, for things like that. It's not going to be for the fact that there's evidence of him engaging in human trafficking or drug smuggling. They're not going to actually charge him on the real things or the corrupt business dealings. It's just going to be, oh yeah, crack addict, got a gun.
Go ahead.
Well, I just have to say, and his dad can pardon him, so it's like they're probably gonna convict him of something really small, and then just have his dad pardon him. But if they convicted him of something actually bad, and his dad pardoned him, there would be more outrage. So
I mean, I feel like there should be outrage anytime a father would pardon his own son, regardless of what the crime is. But I also am not so tribal that I can't see that objectively for what it is. You guys keep dropping crack pipe references and drug references. So I think we'll just kind of go with that flow to the next story here. Yesterday, Joe Biden announced he will pardon all proper offenses of simple marijuana possession. He tweeted out, "There are thousands of people who were previously convicted of simple possession who may be denied employment, housing, or educational opportunities as a result. My pardon will remove this burden." He also urged governors to follow suit regarding state marijuana offenses and instructed Secretary of Health and Human Services Javier Becerra and Attorney General Merrick Garland to begin reviewing how marijuana is classified under federal drug laws. It's currently a Schedule 1 substance. Is the same as heroin and LSD. Fentanyl is currently a Schedule 2 substance. Now, I want to get your take on this, guys, but I did find it interesting because Maj Toure, who has been on this program before, did this whole long tweet thread about this particular issue and said that if you actually look at the full you go past the press release and look at the full statement of what he is actually doing. If you go and look at how many people are behind bars right now federally, it's zero. It's literally zero, is what he says. He went back and did all of the research and the digging, and he says this is zero. So this is just him just trying to get more votes in the midterm elections, I guess, just posturing and saying like, well, we're going to pardon all of those people that are behind federal bars for these marijuana possession. And if you go in and you look at it, actually what he's talking about, it's actually literally zero people.
Well, it's all fake, but to be honest, marijuana probably should be scheduled, well, not should, probably, it should be scheduled as a lesser drug. And, if you look at Kamala Harris with her 3 strikes laws in California, putting people in jail for life for possession of marijuana, like you said, this doesn't even help out the people that are in federal prison for it. So it's all just a smokescreen. And should the marijuana laws be changed? Yes, but when they just lie and, do something like this, it should outrage people because it doesn't even benefit anybody because nobody's really in jail for federal nonviolent possession of marijuana.
Everyone that is in jail for, what he's essentially pardoning is all at the state level. So it literally has no factor, into actually changing any policy or changing anything. And, what I saw is, obviously he's clearly just trying to buy votes and launder votes in the midterms. But you had Beto O'Rourke right afterwards say literally the exact same thing, but say, we're going to do it on a state level and we're going to decriminalize marijuana. And, I might agree with him. I don't think we should decriminalize marijuana, maybe make it medical for veterans, things like that. But it's clearly, it's very obvious that they're just buying votes here. It's not realistically going to do anything.
Yeah, I know we have one more story to get to here, but I go back and forth on the legalization issue because the libertarian in me wants to be like, yeah, if someone wants to do that, whatever. But I also see what crap holes have become of Colorado and all of these places, California, all of these places that have gone so far to legalize it. It just becomes very dirty. There's, more homeless people. And trust me, that's also Democrat policies. But man, I feel like it dumbs you down.
It definitely does, but at the same time, you can go to any corner and get a bottle of liquor for $2 and drink Everclear. So I'm not saying that we should outlaw alcohol, but human beings should have the right to choose what they want to do. I know it sounds easy. I know, but
I go back and forth on it.
For me, though, I think the legalization of it and getting the government involved, I know that's not a conservative value. It's because there's a lot of benefits where the government could be benefiting instead of these cartels in Mexico. So at the end of the day, it's a problem that you're never going to fix. The war on drugs won that war. So, it's kind of like we need to be a little more pragmatic. That does not mean that we should legalize everything, but with the amount of fentanyl that kids are using, and I just have to say this, I'd rather kids be on weed than fentanyl. And that's the sad reality we live in, where everybody's on some sort of substance.
Yeah, I want to make sure that we hit this here. Oh my God, these people are too much. New York City Mayor Eric Adams today declared a state of emergency. This is a state of emergency for New York over the 17,000 illegal immigrants that have arrived in the city since April. That is so rich. Listen.
In the next few weeks, we'll be opening a large humanitarian emergency response and relief center on Randall's Island that will safely house hundreds of people who have found themselves in New York City at their long journey from our southern border. I will be there to welcome them, to stay with them, to hear their stories.
Stuff them in a
But unless we
racetrack.
take immediate action, that center will be full in days, and we will have to open another and another and another, even as winter weather arrives. As a result of that reality, today I am declaring a state of emergency in the city of New York and issuing an executive order. This executive order will formally direct all relevant agencies to coordinate their efforts to construct the humanitarian relief centers.
Wow. Okay, so he says that 1 in 5 people in the city's shelter system is a migrant, which is creating the crisis. And just so we're clear here, the mayor in El Paso, who is a Democrat, the Democrat mayor in El Paso, Texas, is sending more migrants to New York City than Governor Abbott has. So maybe that should tell you something. I feel really bad for them. That is, golly, what it must be like to be a borders. Oh, wait, that's not New York.
Nope.
Oh, but it's a state of emergency for them. For us, it's just fine. We should just continue letting them back in.
Yeah, it's just
if only there was something, though, but could you think of anything that we could do to, like, make sure that these people don't come over?
I don't know. We could give them a better cell phone. We could, maybe give them first-class tickets. Because, like I said, I've said this a lot. I think we're flying them on Spirit, and that's a crime itself. These migrants deserve, after their long journey here, they definitely deserve at least Delta or American Airlines. So, yeah, I don't think we're doing enough, honestly. We need to do more to help these migrants, because, the American working class, they can handle it. I mean, just the fact that people can't, afford to fill up their gas tank or buy a home, that's worth it to help more migrants come to America and get to go to the Big Apple.
I don't think I'm going to get anything but sarcasm from either of these guys today.
Isn't it just so bigoted that, people are actually upset about immigrants coming into this country, about a language barrier? I mean, I can walk down to Dallas, and for the first time in years, I can go and try and strike up a conversation with somebody, and they don't speak a lick of English. But I really enjoy that, not having people in my country that don't actually even speak the language. That's my favorite thing.
All right, we got to go to a quick break. First, we want to thank our sponsor, Nusu Labs. So losing weight is really hard. I get it. All right, whether it be cravings or, a lot of people work from home now, which means you're constantly in the pantry rooting around for something that you really should not be eating. But you got to try this weight control formula from Nusu Labs. It's filled with antioxidants, and it maximizes your metabolism. It will keep you away from all of those empty calories safely. You're not going to feel those some weight loss pills. You're like jittery and stuff, and it's like dangerous. This is not that. I have tried it. It is amazing, and they guarantee you will lose up to 3 pounds in your first week, guaranteed, or your money back. So you have nothing to lose here except the weight. He makes fun of me for saying that, but it's true. Right now, you can get a free bottle with your order at nusulabs.com/y. That is nusulabs.com/y. Kanye West went on Tucker Carlson last night and suggested, now remember, this whole big controversy of he dared wear a shirt that said, hold on, I'm not sure if they're going to have to bleep it, right? Probably. They're going to have to censor this part of the program out.
That is so crazy.
Are you ready?
Yeah,
you ready?
The swear jar.
White lives matter. Yeah, he dared wear a shirt that says white lives matter, and now he is in deep doo-doo.
Extremely racist.
A big controversy. So he sat down with Tucker Carlson, and he suggested that the Clintons were manipulating him through Kim Kardashian. Watch.
It was wild that I didn't know how close my own wife was to the Clintons. I didn't know.
Look how weird that is.
I didn't realize it at the time.
That you were married to her?
And I was married to her.
How close was she to the Clintons?
I mean, cell phone away, like, or hey, tell Ye to say this away, or hey, go out and use your platform to push the vaccination away. I mean, not away, but like take the away part. But
do you feel like at times you were manipulated by political forces through your wife?
Attempt manipulation. But yes, there was some manipulation. Me not saying I like Trump was a form of a manipulation.
All right. Well, he's letting all of the dirty laundry out. By the way, he really is letting all of the dirty laundry out. If you are somewhat addicted to like Hollywood gossipy type stuff, go follow his Instagram page because he gets wild on there. He also explained in this interview that he is unapologetically pro-life and does not care about people's responses. Watch.
The lanyard's still on from it, and there's a photograph on it. What is that?
It's a photograph of a baby's ultrasound.
Why is that? And that you designed that?
Yes.
Why? What does that mean?
It just represents life. I'm pro-life.
Boy, so you wear it on a badge. What kind of response do you get? And good, amen. I agree.
I don't care about people's responses. I care about the fact that there's more black babies being aborted than born in New York City at this point. That 50% of black death in America is abortion. So I really don't care about people's responses. I perform for an audience of one, and that's God.
Gee, imagine if only the black community had more people like Kanye actually speaking those types of truths. Imagine what Chicago would be like if there were more Kanyes around telling people, I don't care what you think. I'm pro-life. I also believe white lives matter as well. And there are too many black babies being aborted, so maybe we should get our crap together and stop doing this.
Yeah, I mean, it's beautiful. I think this will go down as the moment, and I think Candace Owens is doing a funeral for Black Lives Matter, but this is the moment that Kanye basically eulogized Black Lives Matter, and that that movement is done. And I think that's the most brilliant thing that he's done with this latest, stunt, or whatever you want to call it, interview with my biological dad. I think this is the official nail in the coffin of BLM.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very refreshing to see, especially someone with the status of Kanye within the black community come out and speak about the effects of abortion specifically on the black community in New York. Mm-hmm. That's an analogy that I don't hear a lot of people use. There's one that I like to say is, if you see a pregnant black woman on the subway in New York, she's more likely on the way to have that baby aborted than have an ultrasound done. And if to put that into those words, it's sadistic. It's straight up demonic. What the abortion industry does. And, in another part of this interview that you didn't play, he talked about Margaret Sanger and the fact that, Planned Parenthood is literally just a eugenics lab.
Yeah.
And this is huge. We've never had someone with his amount of status in the black community come out and say this. I think it's going to change a lot of minds.
Well, it's interesting because as the Kanye thing is going on, there was also a PBS interview that was done with Representative Cori Bush, who is, I believe she's like an honorary member of the Squad. So she's very radical.
Baldy.
Yeah, and so she...
Is it?
This is a really, really difficult topic here, but on the subject of abortion, she said in this interview, I'm going to play the clip for you, she said that she changed her mind about getting an abortion when she was 19, but the abortionist went through with the procedure anyway, and this is a very pro-abortion person, so try to wrap your head around this as she's talking. Watch.
I thought I was ready, and I went in, and I went through all the steps because they were it's almost like an assembly line, you go from room to room. And I got into the last room. I was helped up onto the table by the nurse, and I laid there, and I started to think, well, one, I didn't tell the father that was about to happen.
Wow.
I just felt like I needed more time. So I said, no, you know what, I'm not ready. Mm-hmm. And the nurse just, wouldn't listen to me. And I said, no, I'm not ready. And as I'm saying no, they continued to pull the instruments and, get everything ready. They ended up during this time, they put the instrument inside me and started the instrument. So it was, and I'm saying no, but it was too late because you couldn't stop once it started.
How in the world can someone who has had that happen to them still continue to push for this abortion industry. I mean, literally her pinned tweet right now on her Twitter feed is, "I'm proud to announce the Roe the Vote Reproductive Freedom Tour across Missouri. People everywhere need to know that Dems are the pro-human rights, pro-bodily autonomy, pro-reproductive justice party fighting to protect our fundamental rights. This is how we win." No, because what just happened to her because of the policies that she and her ilk are advocating is not that. Where's the bodily autonomy in that? Where is it? Where's the pro-human rights in that? It blows my mind how these people can support these causes and then say, yeah, this thing happened, but you should definitely continue to support the abortion industry. They're great.
Well, misery loves company, because she had that horrible experience, and I really find it, cute and really sad when she describes the instrument that she's describing as basically a vacuum. I mean, they euthanize a baby and suck it out of you. So she's trying to, whitewash that.
Which, by the way, means it was farther along than...
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And the guilt that you could tell that she still had, that she didn't tell the baby's father. I mean, this is just such a nightmare for her to tell that story. But in my mind, you either go two ways, where she would be staunchly anti-abortion, or she's going to be, hey, I got taken advantage, so I want other people to get taken advantage of. It's that victim mentality, and the left is like, they love victimhood, and it's just weird for her to go there and say that she was basically the victim of an unwanted abortion while still wanting and campaigning for abortion. It's just a juxtaposition that's almost incomprehensible.
That's the thing, is that I would understand it more if that happened to her, but she just didn't share it. I'm trying to reason out, why do you share that happens to you and then push for more women to have that happen to them?
I think the mask kind of slipped off during the interview.
Yeah.
A little bit. I mean, because you have the politician, that everyone knows, but then you have the real human being, because these people, a lot of them are real human beings, other than the ones that are demons. But her specifically, I mean, you could definitely see that, she was emotional there, and she's just, the way she's describing it, literally she said no multiple times. It's like the entire Democratic Party is, so pro-abortion that I don't even know how you can have a representative put out, an interview like this and then not receive pushback, or even, her constituents, especially watching this, even as someone who was pro-abortion. I used to be pro-abortion. I did all the Baby Lives Matter stuff once I actually learned the truth about it. But, just as a constituent watching this who, could be vehemently pro-abortion up until the day that it's born, you watch this and you see the kind of pain in her voice, the pain in her eyes. It's like, that should at least change your mind a little bit, or make you start questioning why she's saying something on Twitter, but then saying something completely opposite during an interview.
Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and take another quick break. We will be back with more. First, we want to thank our sponsor, Omega XL. So Omega XL is there for those of you who have reached a certain age where maybe just everything hurts, and you're walking around with a limp, and someone's like, well, what did you do? You're like, I don't know. I rolled out of bed and now I hurt. You got to try Omega XL. It can be life-changing, seriously, if you are living in pain, whether it be arthritis or what have you. What it does is it attacks the inflammation that is in your body, which is the root cause of your pain. So it's not going to mask it. It's not going to be a Band-Aid. It is actually going to solve the problem. It is made from an essential fatty acid combination from the waters of New Zealand, which, I think sometimes men are like, oh, if it's natural, it doesn't work. But it does. I have tried it. It's worked for me. Pat Gray has tried it as well. It's worked for him. It can work for you. And again, it really can be life-changing to get out of pain. So if you order a bottle of Omega XL now, you can get a second bottle for free over at omegaxl.com/news. That is omegaxl.com/news. I have a question. Why are the people who become the head of the Libertarian Party so weird?
I don't know.
Why? It seems reasonable when you broach the surface. You're like, yeah, leave everyone alone and, all these things. And then they say something and you go oh, well, that's kind of gross.
Do you actually mean that?
Yeah, wait a second. So that's what happened last night during Arizona's Senate debate. The Libertarian candidate, Mark Victor, said that, yes, the age of consent should be up for debate. Watch.
We are a constitutional republic, not an unrestricted democracy. Today, everything is up for a vote. Very little should be up for a vote. Like, for example, who should represent the good people of the state of Arizona. That should be up for a vote.
Okay.
What should the age of consent be? This is something that reasonable minds disagree on. That should be up for a vote.
Absolutely
but
jiving with
everything
everything
else
you
that
said
we are
up
voting
until
on
then.
that has anything to do with your body, your property, your money, your time, that's what freedom is about, folks. None of that should be up for a vote.
he was so passionate, and it was so well rehearsed, and he's delivering it so fiery, and you're like, yeah,
so good.
you should be able to elect your representatives. Wait, what? You want to do what with my children?
It's like he tried to just almost sneak it in there.
Yeah.
He's like, everyone's going to be so riled up that I'm talking about a constitutional republic, telling everybody that we should put certain things to a vote and that we should just agree on things. And then all of a sudden, boom, let us screw younger kids. And you're like, whoa. Wait, did I hear that right?
Wait, what? You're a fan of child diddling and you're running for office? That's where the Libertarian Party loses me. Now, I know that there are people who call themselves libertarians who would vehemently disagree with that particular issue, but why do they always choose the weirdos to represent them who do?
Yeah, I know. I mean, one of my good buddies, Reed Coverdale, he's, a popular libertarian. I've broached the subject with him, and he obviously is staunchly against it. So it's just, I think this is just the fringe minority that actually want to change the age of consent. Because you even said it earlier, we all have a lot of libertarian, mindset, but this is where it goes this is a little too much liberty, if you ask me. So we should have age of consent laws, and I think it's pretty much universally accepted, that it is 18. I think some states it's 17, but I think that those laws don't need to change whatsoever.
Yeah, it's
I will say, I kind of felt bad for the guy. I was watching the debate live, and they were at first.
Okay.
They kept skipping over him. It was just Masters and Kelly, just going back and forth. And this guy's just standing in the corner alone, waiting to get his shot, and then they finally,
that's how he chose to use it.
finally give it to him,
yeah.
and then I'm like, oh. I see why they probably skipped over you a few times there.
This is why the Libertarian Party can't gain any traction. I agree with so many of your policies of what you advocate for, but you just take it too damn far. You gotta stop. So kind of on this same vein, a convicted child molester, this is in Idaho, a convicted child molester was awarded $2.5 million in attorney fees for having their gender transition surgery delayed. This is Mason Dean Edmo in 2011 molested a 15-year-old boy while the boy was asleep and pled guilty to sexually abusing a minor under the age of 16, was sentenced to 10 years in prison. And of course, during his time in jail, he began to struggle with his gender identity and now goes by the name Adri. So he sued the state of Idaho for not immediately paying for his gender transition surgery that he had deemed medically necessary. And he eventually received the surgery in 2020. And he received a settlement of, he was awarded $2.5 million in attorney's fees. And by the way, was transferred to the women's prison, in case you were wondering.
Where he belongs, right? Yeah.
Oh, of course, because what could possibly go wrong? It's not like we've seen stories of women being raped or women ending up pregnant because there's a dude with a penis in there.
Putting a sex offender in with a bunch of women?
What could possibly go wrong?
Well, personally, I don't think that's enough money. To cut off my wiener. $2.5 million.
I need a lot more than that.
A lot more than that. So that's a little too cheap. But this person's obviously insane, and they're probably going to enjoy their time behind bars as a whatever. I don't even. So he was a male, then he became a female. Now he's in the female jail. So that's why they do it. So
do you see that lovely-looking female?
Yeah, she's beautiful, and that's why they do it though, so she can be in a female jail. So she gets to be on an episode of The Orange Is the New Black and relax and just smoke cigarettes illegally all day in jail.
We're awarding mental illness, in society now. And it's like, I almost don't even feel bad that this is happening now because we did this to ourselves. We allowed the culture to shift so far to whatever this is demonic. There's no other way to describe it. We allowed culture to shift literally towards Satan to the point of where we're awarding men for sexually abusing kids. Because that's literally what we did. We rewarded him for raping a 15-year-old kid. Threw him in prison. Oh, you want $2 million? Here you go.
Yeah, I mean, the money went to the attorneys, but you could argue that, like, the reward is that you get to just play with the medical system, play with the healthcare system.
Well, now you get to be housed with a bunch of women.
Yeah.
And you have those attorneys on retainer that can just keep, messing, with the system and just, but they like this. There's people on the left that they even like this story that the person got the $2.5 million because they didn't give the gender reassignment surgery fast enough, So in the future they'll be like, well, make sure to, do the assignment surgery faster and it won't happen to you. So that's how sick some of these people are.
Yeah, and it's not just child molesters, though. They're like, they want children to get the surgery quicker and quicker and quicker, even though we're seeing more and more people come out, more and more young people come out and say, I regret this, and they've ruined my body. And I was mentally ill, and they didn't help me, and now I'm stuck with this. So it's just so frustrating to see. I do think the pendulum is swinging back. I do. I think that the pendulum is swinging back. What do you guys think?
Well, but I think it's actually, the numbers are similar to COVID. They want as many people, not just young people of all ages, transitioning because they want that population more represented, so they want that number higher.
Yeah, but but the more people that they push this on, the more of them come out later, as we're seeing, all of these detransitioning people who are saying, like, what you guys did to me was wrong. There's a lawsuit that's going on in the UK right now, is like one of their biggest gender transition clinics is being sued by all of these people, and in some cases their parents, by saying, like, you guys rushed my child into this, and you should have taken more time, you should have taken more precautionary steps to make sure that they were ready for this. And so I feel like it's changing.
Sarah, there's people getting Bell's palsy and still, happy to get, the jab. So
fine. I was just trying to be optimistic.
I do see where the optimism comes from. Is like, in my mind, you can only cut off a certain amount of penises until, it kind of swings all the way back around until people start to wake up again. But I mean, it's still going to be around for, I would say probably at least 10 years, this, whole trans craze. And, you have Matt Walsh and Lives of TikTok, people like that really pushing back on the transitioning of children. But it's going to take a few more years until people really start to wake up and say, whoa, okay, you guys are literally just ruining children's lives.
Well, just in this past year, you've seen the increase of how many times, drag queen story times, now churches. So I just don't think we've hit that pinnacle.
I think
the pendulum will swing.
They're the double down phase right now, essentially.
Yeah. Well, I tried, guys. We got to take another quick break. We'll be back. Speaking of all the ways that a society is trying to, trans your kids, queer your kids, I don't even know anymore. All of the above. Amy Canova, chair of the National Association of School Psychologists, LGBTQI2-S committee.
That's a new one.
It's Two-Spirit, I believe. 2-S. They've added that. You did not know. Excuse me, bigot. You didn't know that it is now LGBTQI.
So I can identify as a spirit, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Only if it's two.
Yes.
No, it's not.
You didn't know that?
No, I'm a bigot,
wow,
bro.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's terrible.
Okay, so next time, if you'd like to be respectful, you can refer to the community as the LGBTQI2S committee.
Noted.
2S
I'm going to go home and study my notes.
Please do before you come back to this table.
Yes, thank you.
God, I'm really sorry for the bigots
it's 2022.
they chose to bring to the table here. So she was participating in discussions on an internal message board for the Pride Liberation Project, and a section of the board advised students who are facing familial rejection or need to leave their home for another reason to reach out to Amy, who, by the way, is she, her, in case you didn't know, immediately. They work with Safe Space Nova, are an adult, and can provide you with much more information. They are also confidential. It also goes on to say that the group could rehome students who did not like their parents, pay them money, and have an adult pick them up to take them to their new lives, and provide false documentation to hide children's whereabouts where they participated in gay activities. They said, we can provide you with emergency housing from a supportive, queer-friendly adult. We will work with other supportive organizations in the region to find you someone who can provide you a kind and affirming home. Guys, so oftentimes on this program, I say, they are coming for your children. I literally mean they are coming for your children. They are literally talking about kidnapping your children so that they can make them gay and not tell you where they are. We're talking about criminal activities here so that they can confuse your child sexually. How is it possible we're talking about this? Like, why is this even a conversation? Why is this a controversy? Like, how is it possible that every single American is not like, yeah, that's not okay? How is it possible this is even a conversation?
And well, it's disgusting because think about how many times in your maturation as a child you disagreed with your parents, and now they have a channel and an avenue where they can just go get resettled to a new home. So I mean, this is insane because you're supposed to disagree with your parents. Your parents are supposed to show you tough love. So for me and what you just said, this is not a conspiracy. They literally want to turn your kids gay, and if they're not gay enough, they'll steal them or they'll cut off their genitals. I mean, that is a real harsh reality that we're currently under, and it's a nightmare.
I mean, this is something that if we had a serious, federal law enforcement agency in this country, this is something they should be investigating, is saying, so you're literally talking about kidnapping and rehoming children without letting their parents know? I mean, I remember when I was a kid, the amount of times that I thought, I'm going to run away. I'm going to run away. And just because you're at such a malleable age that you don't really know how hard life is, you don't even know what life really is, other than, you go to school every day, you come home and maybe have an argument with your parents. I can't imagine, kids at the impressionable age that they are now having a bad fight with their parents, then having this avenue, one text away, hey, come have a random stranger pick me up so you can turn me gay. I mean, that's insane.
But we're talking about it. We were talking about it, Taylor. This is a thing that they're letting exist.
I'm not super surprised that they're letting this exist. I mean, because you look at I don't remember Eli Erickson, I think, that person on Twitter that literally has been sexually transitioning kids for years online. I mean, sending them hormones in the mail. I mean, this is something that is obviously a reoccurring problem, but the FBI just, I'd rather less pro-life pastors that protest outside of abortion clinics.
Yeah, so, and just as a reminder, before we have to go to break here, this is the chair of the National Association of School Psychologists, and she identifies as pansexual. She said, I identify as queer, but I'm attracted to a very small but growing percentage of the population. Yeah, it's growing because of you.
I'm attracted to pans.
Population. And so more transmasculine, non-binary folks who may or may not like women. What the hell is, I don't even I've already been lost.
They have their own language.
Transmasculine, non-binary folks who may or may not like women. When I'm dating more transmasculine people, one of the first things I ask, or even when I go out with them, is how out are you and what are you out as? Which is the same thing that I ask my students.
Wow. That's the first day of class. What's your, gender orientation and sexual preference?
How out are you and what are you out as?
This person is probably the one that's responsible for the counseling at the school. So,
that's what I'm saying.
The psychologist. So can you imagine, having a bad day at school and you come in and then the first question she asks you is, hey, how out of the closet are you? And who do you like?
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, yeah, there's more growing percentage of the population who's identifying as this because you're putting it in their heads and you're like creating confusion and oftentimes a lot of mental disorders because you guys are bringing it up to them in the first place. All right. We got to take another quick break before my head explodes, and we'll be right back. Jack Phillips, whose name you might remember, he was the Colorado baker who won a partial Supreme Court victory after refusing to make the wedding cake for a gay couple on religious grounds. This was back in 2013. He is now challenging another ruling that went against him over a refusal to make a gender transition cake. So this is back from 2017. Autumn Scardina placed an order with his cake shop in Denver for a blue birthday cake with pink filling to signify her gender transition. He obviously refused to fulfill the request. And he said, he does not believe that someone can change genders and would not celebrate somebody who thinks that they can, which the Supreme Court did try to affirm that he could do. And now, this is a community who says that they just want equal rights. I don't know. It really kind of feels like pretty vindictive. Really, really feels that way. Private business. He did not refuse to give them a cake. He just would not make one exclusively that represents something that he does not agree with. He has a bunch of other cakes that they could choose from if they wanted to purchase a cake from him. They choose not to do it because they're vindictive, petty assholes.
Well, I think he should be shut down because I tried to get him to make me a vaccine card cake and he said no for that. So shut him down.
This guy's a legend. I mean, good on him. I mean, I hope someone has funding, though, for his lawyer fees, because that's what they're doing this for.
Yeah, they really are. It's just so sad to see. All right. Thanks for tuning in. We will see you Monday. Thanks, guys.